must determine how your paper will be best served. Okay, so we're ready to write. All right, so introduction, pretty straightforward. This is things that we've seen before. Again, you want to think about the general statement and background of the topic, an overview of the claims that you're going to discuss, of course, your argument, and then some of the tips or techniques that we talked about. Meta commentary, right? We said that would be really effective. That meta text helps the reader understand specifically what to expect. Again, the templates are attached to your packet that has the outline for this particular PowerPoint. I also have them on my website in the research paper exit task folder. Use an academic tone, and of course, understand that this doesn't mean, oh, I just have 3 sentences. So bullet points are not indicators of the number of sentences in the paragraph. As I said in class today, 8 to 10 sentences, maybe, ballpark, okay? Okay, this is an example of the templates that are in your packet. This one is meta commentary. Again, here, there's a little note to you as to where you can get a full comprehensive list of academic templates. All right, so here we're scoping in, we're looking a little closer. So now we've kind of mapped out the body paragraph. So how are we going to actually construct our sentences, right? We're getting narrower in focus. So like I've said before, there are many ways. There are so many variations. I just wanted to give you some samples. So this light blue box represents a paragraph, all right? So your first body paragraph might have topic sentences, point, IE, remember our pi. And so your point is your first subclaim statement. Then you're going to have evidence, which is your illustration, evaluation, more evidence, evaluation. Remember, these are not indicative of the number of sentences. This might be 1 sentence, this might be 3 sentences, this might be 5 sentences, this might be 2, etc., etc. You're going to repeat that process until you've proven your point. Of course, then we have the crust for our pie and crust. And that could be a closing statement, or it may be a transition into the next paragraph. You kind of have to figure out what's coming next. How is it related? Okay? Use academic templates. This is where, we've spent a lot of time looking at how to phrase sentences to help guide our reader. So go back to the packet, look at some of the examples, okay? Here where it says cite a source. In my next lecture about in-text parenthetical citations, I will talk more specifically about them. But in general terms, MLA says it is better to include the source or reference the source within the sentence. Because if you think about it, no one spends time going back and looking at the bibliography. So you want to make sure and insert it in the text because it makes it more convincing. All right, so again, new paragraph. We have our second subclaim. And then remember IE, or you could do II, IE. You need to figure this out for yourself, but the big picture kind of message that I want to point out is you have to have equal ratios of evaluation and illustration, or otherwise known as equal proportions of evidence and analysis. If you just list a whole bunch of evidence, that's not going to get you very far. You have to have that evaluation or analysis as part of your part of the development of the particular subclaim. Here I've inserted the counter argument. This is within the body paragraph. This is an example of including it in the body paragraph. Again, you have the option to pull out, and there'll be an example of that coming up. So here, this one doesn't have a counter argument. But again, I'm doing my PIE, IE, etc., repeating the point until it's supported. It says down here, continue with this general format until you've gone through all the subclaims for claim 1, then repeat for claims 2, 3, etc. However many claims that you discerned in that mapping process. All right, so here's another example. So this is a different option, okay, organizational possibility. Just wanted to show you, I'm going to go kind of quickly through this one. It's pretty much the same. Okay, so each of the peachy pink boxes are a different paragraph. But you'll notice here, I have put transition because this is going to be linked to the counter argument. So this would be my next paragraph. This is an example of pulling the counter argument and rebuttal out. So if we go back, this is with claim 1 and subclaim 1, but I decided to pull out the counter argument to subclaim 1 and put it in its own paragraph. Okay, so you can kind of see how that would look. Here's again subclaim 2 and then subclaim 3. If you take a look right here, I noticed before when I printed your notes that were in class, there was a small error, and this particular line is missing. So if you have your notes, this would be a good time to write it in. I made the correction on some of my classes, but I forgot to mention it in my, although I had it on the screen like this, I forgot to point it out to some of my classes. So just now, you want to continue with the point, illustration, evaluation, etc., etc. Again, the same note down here as prior slides had. All right, so let's talk about conclusion. We're almost done, and I just want to reiterate this point. We have opinion and synthesis of viewpoint. So you're going to reaffirm your argument or thesis, right? You're going to maintain formal academic language. You're going to avoid any conversational phrasing or tone. And you're going to articulate the big picture of your argument. This was a really, really helpful point, I think. I don't want any call to action, okay? No call to action. This is where you're going to want to center some of your kind of insight and reflective commentary. Remember, this is all commentary. How does why does your research topic, your thesis statement, matter in the world, right? Why should we care? Why is it important to the environment, to the individual, to society, okay, to our government? I don't know, depending on your topic. To future generations, why? And so you want to include that into your discussion. So again, I want to reaffirm that this isn't about numbers of sentences. Bullet points are not indicators of the number of sentences in a paragraph. Ballpark, you want to maybe like 10, 15 sentence conclusion. I don't know, something around that. Number, again, I hate to give specific numbers. So, again, I want to reiterate, when you are constructing that conclusion, it's often a time when you are exhausted, you're done with writing this paper, you just want to hammer something out and just turn it in and you don't care. But remember, it's a lasting impression. And it's actually one of the worst times to sort of give, 50% effort. So I want to suggest that you look at your conclusion with fresh eyes. So if you're kind of planning out your pacing for writing this essay, you may want to leave the night before or 2 nights before, if you're pushing it to the very end, to be fresh and just focus in on that conclusion so that you can kind of read your paper as a whole and really look at it as a whole, so that you can kind of reflect back and include those thoughts in your conclusion. And hopefully you'll have a better result. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. I hope that, if you have any further questions, you come see me. I want to keep, remind you that my line, probably 3 days before the essay is due, is really, really, really long. So if you want any kind of individualized time, you'll start working very soon this week on the paper. Again, there is a whole nother component to this, and that is the in-text parenthetical citations, which I'll be sending home that video Monday or Tuesday via NGrade. So please, 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 the work doesn't stop here. So there's a lot of kind of, I don't want to say complicated, but variations with MLA format. But we'll talk more about that on Monday. And one last slide. Remember, my website is there. I know I pointed it out in class. I'm trying to do as many things to help you guys out. We've got the Senior English documents here. And remember, you're going to go all the way down to the bottom until you see that research paper. Also, if you are planning on doing homework, there's a link for the homework here. It's separated by periods, so take a look there. This PowerPoint I have loaded on here.